Hello everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and today I'm going to take a very quick run through of 9.19.1 post on the World of Tanks website. So the reason I'm doing this instead of using the actual game is because the goddamn game keeps crashing on me every time I log into it, so I've just given up at this point. I'm just like, nah, fuck it. So I usually get into it for like 20 minutes, then the game just kicks me out and I can do nothing to get back in. It just says error on the like test server unavailable and shit like that. It's getting on my nerves, so I've just given up. I'm waiting until test 2 before I try to get into it again. This is not worth all the time I've tried to put into it. Like, I've used most of my day today trying to get into the goddamn test server. So the main changes coming with this patch are SPGs are going to be able to platoon again, but very crucial detail here, only one SPG per platoon. So you don't need to fear, and this is honestly, as soon as I heard SPGs platoon, I just went, oh no. Like, I was just like, oh no, like Bot Chat 15558 Apocalypse. that was basically my thought. I was just like, the 15558, if you don't know, 3-shot autoloader on an artillery. 10 seconds, I believe, between each shot. Can you imagine 9 of those hits hitting you in a row and you can do nothing about it because they just keep tracking you? That would just get unbelievably frustrating. At least it's not going to be at least they're not going to be doing like 600, 700 damage per hit per high explosive hit like they did in the past. But still, that would be horrendously bad to deal with because, well, first off, they're going to be stunning you every single time they hit you, and if one of them hit you, you knew all 3 of them were going to be shooting at you. So you would just basically just, well, fuck me, death by 1,000 cuts, yes. So yeah, and then we come on to, well, they've done some changes to the matchmaking system. So I never came across this myself, as far as I can recall. But if you look down here, it was apparently possible for a tier 10 scout to be on the top of one team, and then to compensate, the other team would get a tier 8 scout. So yeah, apparently that was something that could happen. I can't remember ever coming across that, but apparently that was a thing that was happening. That was happening from time to time. Um, and it's a good thing that they're removing it. Pretty much, that's really all I had to say about that. They're removing the chance that that can happen, and they're also changing up the where the platoons are balanced. I think it's going to take a little bit more time to try and get platoons of the same tier in more often, but I think that's going to be difficult to do. Like, trying to like if three people are playing a platoon in like tier 9 tank destroyers and they get into a top tier game, does that mean it's only ever going to have like say top tier tank destroyers on the enemy team? Like if your team has 3 top tier tank destroyers in platoon, will the other team only ever have top 3 tier 9 tank destroyers? I really don't know how that's going to work. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's going to try it, and I think it's going to give itself some leeway the longer it takes to get a match, pretty much. So that's what I'm getting from this. Um, in terms of the team list, it's going to update the way it's going to be shown, pretty much. It's going to show it heavy tanks, medium tanks, tank destroyers, light tanks, SPGs. That's pretty much the way it's going to be doing it, and it's going to, and then finally, vehicles need acrylic at the bottom. What the hell's acrylic? Does that mean dead? I don't know. Numbers come first. Oh, it's changing up the way they're going to be. They're going to come up in the team list. So if a tank that has name start with a number, I can't think of a single tank that starts with a number. Oh yeah, no, never mind. Chinese tanks, the 113, 121. So yeah, that makes a lot more sense actually thinking about it. They're going to always come up to the top of the team, and then it's going to be alphabetical order from that point on. That's what I get from that, pretty much. There's the boot camp. Not really going to go into too much detail on this here because I could not personally test it out. I don't know how this works or what it does. Updates to some personal missions. Some of them good. Some of them I think are a bit too focused in on one area. And then we get to the HD models. So first HD model, Panzer IV Hydrostat. I had already scrolled over here because I did attempt recording this once before. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to do it in the game client, but I can't, so I've just given up on that. So Panzer IV Hydrostat, the weird looking back and all, that's pretty much it. The Churchill gun carriage. Now this thing here, I think it's a good idea to just keep an eye on this thing on the way they're going to balance this thing, because I saw a lot of rumors before the patch 9.19.1 test server came out saying this thing was going to have 225 millimeters of casement armor. Right now, according to Thanks GG, on 9.19.1 it only has 83 millimeters or whatever the hell it is in the front of this thing. But that could change in later versions of this, later tests of this patch. So who knows where they're going to go with this thing? I don't know. But there were enough rumors saying this thing was going to have more armor on the front that I was honestly like expecting it to. So I'm going to keep an eye on this thing and see if it changes. There's the Universal Carrier 2-pounder. Nobody really, if I'm honest, nobody really cares. It's tier 2. Like you play tier 2 like 4 times, then you're gone. And then there's the M36 Jackson. So one thing I want to mention that's pretty crucial about this tank here now. So if you don't know, the Wolverine and the Jackson have, as near as makes no difference, exactly the same hull. The main difference is the turret and the gun options. So, can someone explain to me why the hell the Wolverine gets a 500 horsepower engine and the Jackson's best engine is 420 horsepower? Can someone explain that to me? Honestly, like, they added that 500 horsepower engine with the Wolverine when it was converted to HD. I was expecting the same to happen with the Jackson. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I actually do like the Jackson a lot. I think it's a really cool looking machine. I thought it was awesome. It's basically just the same 90mm as the Hellcat, same turret as the Hellcat, I believe. This is actually the real tank that actually had that turret. The standard Hellcat in the game is what the real Hellcat was like. And when I say standard Hellcat, I mean unupgraded Hellcat. This is the actual tank that actually had this turret. But seriously, why does this thing get shafted when it comes to the engine bar? Like honestly, like why? There's no real reason to do it. Like it's already considered. Like you never see these things. So what harm would it have done to give it an extra 80 horsepower? I don't understand why they did that, and it honestly kind of annoys me that they completely shafted the Jackson while giving the Wolverine a better engine. They didn't give the Jackson the better engine. God damn it! I mean, come on. I was honestly looking forward to getting back into this thing whenever it came out because I was expecting it to have a bit more engine power, but I guess not. So the Easy It is finally getting the HD model. Like I don't know how long ago the Fury came out, but the Fury's an Easy It. I think the thing came out like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. That movie either came out in like 2015 or 2014. I can't remember. But come on, how did it take so long to basically take the logs off the Fury and recolor it? Like how did that take so long? I don't know. But okay, I mean we only got 2 premium EZS before the standard one got a HD model. But also something I just want to quickly mention. So with the top turret, the stock 75mm gun gets 10 degrees of gun depression, same as normal. The 105mm derp gun, 12 degrees of gun depression. Well, okay, I guess because it's a shorter gun, maybe it gets more gun depression. Why not? The M1A1 gets 10 degrees of gun depression, so you would assume the M1A2 gets 10 degrees of gun depression as well. Nope. The M1A2 gets 12 degrees of gun depression, even though the literal only difference is if you literally take this off the end, you have the M1A1. That's literally all the difference there is. If anything, you would expect the M1A2 to have worse gun depression than the M1A1, but apparently it's completely the opposite of that. No idea why, but okay, I guess. So let's move on to the other vehicles. So it is interesting though this thing capped as 12 degrees of gun depression, considering neither of the other Easy Hits have 10 degrees or have 12 degrees. Both of them have 12. And then there's the M3 Light, which is tier 3 Russian premium light tank that is usually given away in packages with the KV5 and stuff like that there. Premium artillery, not premium artillery, HD artillery, HD artillery, more HD artillery, HD artillery, HD artillery, HD artillery. Although we'll say this thing here looks cool. And this thing here with the stock gun actually looks pretty cool. But yeah, just HD artilleries. Nobody really cares, if I'm completely honest. And then there's the D1, um, and that's about it really. So then we get on to the actual patch notes themselves. So they've added the Poodle, the tier 6 Polish premium medium tank. It's basically the tier 7 Panther with the stats of the VK3002M, but the armor of the tier 7 Panther when it's stock. Like, if you literally take the tier 7 Panther, look at it in the garage, in its stock form, that's pretty much what the Poodle is. Except take off the side skirts as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, that's pretty much what the Poodle is, except it's going to have gun stats and stuff like that that are very similar to the 3002M. But it's going to have 10 more millimeters of upper side armor, and it's going to lose a little bit of speed. So, yeah, pretty much exactly the same tank. But, yeah. Bootcamp, I'm not going to mention. Stronghold, I know nothing about strongholds. And then there's the matchmaking, giving a wee bit more detail on how it's going to work and stuff like that there. Just explain that's going to be done alphabetically. And it's also going to try and balance it a bit more appropriately for certain vehicles being top tier and certain vehicles being, well, basically competing against each other. Like, I mean, imagine being in a 1390 and the only opposing light tank is a T71. Who's going to win that fight? I mean, I think the 1390 has pretty much like 500 health more than a T71, so yeah, and I think the T71 is easily a one clip for the 1390. So yeah, and then improvements to the stun mechanics. So they basically updated it so that the assistance damage that you get from the stunning mechanic will now count towards the marks of excellence, which is a good change. I like that change. That means hopefully that will stop artilleries from shooting at light tanks in the middle of a field and completely missing, and instead they'll hopefully start aiming at the tanks that the team is actually looking to shoot at. Because even though artilleries are no longer damage dealers and they're not going to one-shot things as consistently as they used to, they still aim at the most lightly armored targets because, oh, I have a chance of penetrating this. And then there's a list of HD vehicles. And although I think that's a mistake, that should be SU5, not SU8. I mean, the SU8 isn't HD as already, as far as I'm aware. But if you look up here, that's an SU5, not an SU8. So that might be a mistake. So let's look at this here. Although I think there was another mistake somewhere else, but I can't remember what it was. Nope, I can't think of what it was. They updated the female voiceover for the Russians, and they also updated the Chinese voiceover completely, and basically reworked it. And they also changed the radio interference because apparently that was really annoying. I don't use those. I don't use these specific voiceovers for the different nations and stuff because I find them annoying. So I kind of turn those off. Honestly, I don't even listen to the commander for the most part in my own tank, so I don't even notice stuff like this here. But for people who do use those, I guess it's a good change. Okay, so let's get on to the personal missions. So the personal missions, I'm going to get to the ones that I hate first. So Light Tank 7 and Medium Tank 7. Light Tank 7 seems like a complete ball ache if you look at like honestly, this is not worded very well. Spot 3 enemy SPGs and cause damage. Destroy at least one enemy SPG. So, does that mean cause damage just in general, or does that mean cause damage to the 3 enemy SPGs? Because honestly, the only tank I can really think of that would be able to reliably do this here in like higher tier games would be the MX1390, and even that requires some lucky rolls. Or maybe facing off against some like tier 8 artilleries or something like that. Because if you think about, if you're against 3 tier 8 artilleries, you can put first shot into one of them, second shot into the second one, and then your final 2 shots into the last one, and you'll get and you'll get that mission done. But that's only really going to be easily doable in the 1390. All the others are going to really struggle with that. Because if you don't know, artilleries can still shotgun. And the Americans and the Germans in particular are going to be really weak versus giant ass guns shotgunning them at pretty much point blank range. The Chinese aren't going to appreciate it either. The only ones that are really going to be able to survive that are tanks like the LTTB, the T4 lightweight, etc. Um, but yeah, I feel like these kind of missions here are way too specific, and they're going to be almost impossible to do most of the time. Like, I mean, like, first off, you have to spot them, and if you have to do damage to them as well, you need to basically block your teammates because you don't know. Teammates, if they see SPGs, they focus them and they try to kill them as quickly as they possibly can because they're annoying. So yeah, it's going to be extremely difficult to do, not just because of the enemy team, but because of your own team as well. Very, very similar story with this one here, MT7. So for the Stug 4, it's do damage to at least one enemy SPG. Seems simple enough. For the T28 HDC, seems simple enough. Just destroy at least one enemy SPG. Seems really, really easy. And then when you get onto the T55A, damage two of them and destroy one. First off, getting two enemy SPGs in one game is already a bit of a pain in the ass. It's not exactly common. But first off, doing damage to both of them and killing one of them is going to be kind of hard to do, if I'm completely honest. And then the last one for the Object 260 is basically a chance to screw you, pretty much. Cause damage to at least 3 enemy SPGs and destroy one of them. So the only tanks you're really going to be able to reliably do that in are the TVP 5051, Batchat 25T, pretty much all the all-loaders. Like, I mean, like, any other tank I can't really recommend to try even attempt that in. Like, I mean, these missions here, far too specific. I don't like these missions at all. I think they need to be made a wee bit more open, a wee bit easier, because these missions are going to be extremely difficult. Well, if every game had this amount of SPGs, then it'd be easy. But just hammering away at the battle button until you get these circumstances, and then knowing like how much pressure you're under to do it, you're probably going to get that matchmaking circumstance like maybe 1 in 1,000, or well maybe like 1 in 100 games, and yeah, bear in mind like most of the time you're going to jump into another tank in between playing your light tanks, so chances are you're going to get very very close to doing it, but you're going to be in the wrong tank class. So yeah, it's going to be gigantic ball ache. It's going to be a gigantic ball ache to do those missions. I think they need to be made a little bit more easy, and this one here is way too open. So let's see. MT8's pretty. It's pretty easy, honestly. This one here says for all tiles, but I would assume this must just be for the Object 260 because it's the only one that was changed. Destroy at least 3 enemy medium tanks. Seems simple enough. MT9. Caused at least 500 damage to an enemy heavy tank and destroy at least one enemy heavy tank. So you could easily do that in a tier 5. For the second one, destroy at least one enemy heavy tank and do 1,000 health of damage to enemy heavy tanks. Seems pretty simple. You could do that in tier 6s with ease. For the T55A, it's caused at least 1,500 damage to enemy heavy tanks and destroy at least 2 enemy heavy tanks. You could easily do that in a tier 7, tier 7 or tier 8, and then the last one caused 2,000 damage and destroy at least 2 enemy heavy tanks, or cause 2,000 damage to enemy heavy tanks and destroy at least 2 enemy heavy tanks. That's pretty simple as well. You could easily do that in like if you want to do these really really easily, you could do it in tier 10. Tier 10, you basically guaranteed to do this. Like honestly, if I'm completely honest, like it seems really really easy for tier 10s to do, and then Heavy Tank 6 is pretty simple mission, or pretty simple missions as well. Destroy a total of 2 heavy or medium tanks for Stug 4. For the T28 HDC, destroy a total of destroy at least 2 enemy heavy tanks or medium tanks of the same tier or higher than you. For the T55A, destroy at least 3 heavies or mediums. And for number 4, destroy at least 4 heavies or mediums. That's pretty much it. This one here, don't know. I don't know what this is, I'm completely honest. So I'm going to kind of ignore it. And then there's the last thing to really go over. The Tiger 217. If you wonder what Tiger 217 is, pretty much identical to Tiger 131, except it's a different color. And it has the cupola of the Tier 7 Tiger instead of the Heavy Tank number 6 cupola. So that sums it up. In terms of China, China got a couple of changes to some of their high tier vehicles. The 121 no longer has completely worthless gun depression. I mean, minus 3.5. Why? I mean, just like that's just my question. Like, why minus 3.5? That's just a massive like screw you to who the hell's driving it. From minus 3.5 to 5 degrees. Some people are going to, or some people have said, and I have actually seen a lot of people complain saying, "Oh yeah, now the Chinese don't have any disadvantages for having high alpha guns." So I'm just like, do you know the disadvantages to the 121? First off, it's heavier than the Russians because it's a Janus 122mm gun. Doesn't have APCR standard rounds, so the shell velocity is like a third worse than the Russians. The penetration, it's pretty solid, but it's not as good as the other tier 10 mediums as far as I can recall off the top of my head, except maybe TVP 5051. The armor is nowhere near as strong as people may think. It says 120 millimeters, but it's not very well angled, and to be honest, it doesn't really seem to be that effective. The turret isn't as good as advertised because the face of the turret seems to be really easily penetrated, even by AP rounds. So that's from my experience on the test server. And overall, no, actually, the final thing I want to mention is the gun handling is not particularly good. At anything other than point blank range, the gun handling is pretty much worthless, if I'm completely honest. It says the accuracy is good, but it's not. I mean, with a gun lane drive ventilation, or well, with gun lane drive vertical stabilizer installed, the aiming time is 2.36 seconds, or is like 2.3 seconds. That's with both of the aiming equipment on the tank. Yeah, that's not particularly good. Without it, when you put vents on, it's like a 2.6 second aiming time or some shit. Uh, so yeah, this tank is not going to be overpowered because I got an extra 1.5 degrees gun depression. It's not. It's just not going to be. 113 got an extra 2 degrees gun depression to the side, so it's basically going to be kind of like the old school E50M. And they also added the WZ-111-5A to the Chinese branch. Will be researchable from the current Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank, the WZ-111-14. So, yeah, this thing is basically going to be in the same situation as the T54, as in there's two Tier 10s you can unlock from one Tier 9. So, yeah. That pretty much sums it up. So this thing is going to be in the tech tree. It's not a Clan Wars tank. It's not a special mission tank. So that's awesome. It's just going to be a standard tank everybody can obtain, and it seems to be, from what I played of it, a pretty solid tank. It has 7 degrees of gun depression all over the front and to the sides, not to the rear because the rear gets in the way, if that makes sense. And yeah. And the last thing to mention, Poodle was added to the game, but we already know this because, well, it was up here already. So yeah, and I'm just going to leave it on this here page here. So overall, I think 9.7 or 9.19.1 is going to be a pretty solid patch. The one complaint I do have about Wargaming's recent patches are, can they at least try to put in a couple new maps every now and then? Like, I don't care if they're HD or not. I personally really don't care very much how the game looks, but I know other people do. That's why I play it on at least reasonable graphic settings. But I just don't know. Like, how long has it been since the last map we got? The last map I can think of that they added was like the Stalingrad map, I think. How long ago was that? Like a year ago? Like, I like maybe Stalingrad or D-Day. Those are like the last maps I can really think of that they added to the game that weren't just reskins of old maps that they already had. But yeah, I think they're taking the piss with the maps right now, and like there are maps people clearly have issues with and they want changed, but they're so busy working on the HD maps that they're just not redoing any of the current maps because, well, I guess it makes sense, but it's also fucking annoying. I mean, like, come on, we need some like new gameplay stuff. Like that was part of the reason that people kept playing the game because it was basically like having a new environment to like figure out how to play and all. Actually, the last map we got was Pilsen. That's it. That was like that. And that came with the Czech tanks. Holy crap! That was over a year ago. Wow. Holy crap! I hadn't actually realized how long it had been. Holy shit. Um. So yeah. Let me know what you guys think of patch 9.19.1. Do you think it's gonna be a good patch? Do you think it's gonna be shit? Do you think Wargaming's just taking the piss with these kind of like fixer patches pretty much. Or you're more hyped for 9.20. Have you seen the leaks for 9.20? It seems to be a pretty interesting patch, although I don't think they've gone far enough in a couple of aspects. But I'm not going to get into those details because, well, the only details we really have right now are super test leaks. So, yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to 9.20. This is more like a filler patch in my opinion. It's kind of like just like yeah, just chuck it out there because it's not really adding much to the game. It's just a couple wee fixes every in a couple of areas, and that's about it. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think of patch 9.19.1, and yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.